If you've been here throughout the entire existence of Mr. Super Oz the channel, then you will know that I have purchased all of the post 2K20 versions of the WWE video game. There was no 2K21 because 2K20 was so rough. And this year, 2K26 will be the exception. And it actually, with that exception happening, is going to cause a series of retro reviews, which are called No WWE 2K26. And it isn't that I am boycotting the franchise due to some oversight or that they did some egregious thing that I don't agree with. However, it actually comes down to the fact that I don't have a PlayStation 5 or equivalent hardware. Additionally, there isn't anything that is pressuring me or pushing me toward buying a PlayStation 5, because had they announced something I couldn't live without, they made such an awesome announcement that I thought, oh, I just have to participate in 2K26. I could probably figure out how to get a PlayStation 5. However, they did not. Nothing that was announced was amazing. Like, they could have said, for the first time ever, 5-on-5, two teams strive to survive in war games and traditional Survivor Series matches. I would have been very excited by this. Even since the first time they did war games in the game. Or, let's be real, since the first time they introduced elimination tags. You could never do 5 versus 5 in a WWE video game, which is dissatisfying given the fact that Survivor Series tends to have 5 versus 5, and War Games also can have 5-on-5 matches. I'm not saying that Survivor Series has to be 5-on-5. It could be 4v4. And I'm not saying that War Games hasn't been as few as 3 versus 3 versus 3. But in both cases, you could have convinced me if the game developer said, oh, the old generation just couldn't support 10 characters at the same time or periodically coming out. If they'd have said that for the Royal Rumble, you can have a maximum of half the field in there at the time, 15, I'd have been like, wow, mind blown, big change. But no, nothing that they announced was a significant change. It's just the same old same. It's My Rise, the same as it's been for the past few years, and even before it was called My Rise, it was, a similar style story. And they have showcased this year for Punk, but, in prior years it was John Cena and who knows. The list goes on. The Bloodline in the prior year. Nothing really stands out. Yes, you can now cooperatively be on the island, but I didn't miss not having the island the prior year on the PlayStation 4 since it was exclusive to PlayStation 5, and I'm not going to miss not being able to be on the island since I don't have a PlayStation 5. But what not buying a PlayStation 5 and getting 2K26 has done is it inspired me to go backwards and replay old WWE games. I have currently, I believe, 7 or 8. It inspired me to go back and play my old WWE games on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, while people will be getting their first tastes of WWE 2K26. I will be releasing videos that says no WWE 2K26 and subsequently subtitle the review of an old game, in this case, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. The thing that stands out to me about SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 isn't the majorly advertised function of the game, which is tag team wrestling overhauled and bringing in the hot tag, which was kind of, I'm going to say, controversial when they called it that, because in reality that's an insider term and I wasn't in love with it. But I will be real, I didn't know what would be a better term for what that is called, and so I kind of let it get a pass, because I mean, if I can't come up with a better name for what to call it, then that means the developers couldn't either, and so that's why they landed on what the wrestling business actually calls it on the inside. And that's the thing, is like, when the game came out, I was actively in the wrestling business, is why it bothered me so much, because yes, we talk about, heat and hot tags and the shine and international, all these terminologies that mean something to us, but I didn't think it was smart for the video game to be putting it in. But I don't even think tag team wrestling was what made this game, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, stand out. What I enjoyed most about it was the road to WrestleMania. And what I mean by the road to WrestleMania is that it gave you options, 6 separate stories, and in each one of the different stories, you got to take different paths. Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more, but most importantly, the story itself. Whether it be as Rey Mysterio, Dave Bautista, Chris Jericho, John Cena, Triple H, or CM Punk. Hey, look at that. It's the cover star of 2K26. In these Road to WrestleMania stories, they only last, I believe it was just under 3 months each, at or around 3 months. And I like the brevity of the story, because it means you can give care to each week instead of elongating it to infinity, and it feels like the story is just rinse and repeat or not really going anywhere. Whereas with each story being concise in just that Royal Rumble, No Way Out, WrestleMania time period, then each week can feel like it's moving the story forward until you get to the conclusion, which happens at, obviously, WrestleMania, with this being the road to WrestleMania. So the stories are very enjoyable. I mean, entertaining, enjoyable. In some cases, very oddball, because the Undertaker story has him, fighting off zombies. But, of course, when you're an undead wizard, why not? But John Cena's story has an army guy come in and help out, give him a special WrestleMania entrance. And in Jericho's, there's a masked man, although it's revealed to be masked men, who are often jumping him. It feels like perhaps WWE in real life had a vision of SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, because that was such a prevalent part of the Vision storyline in the modern way. Here's the deal, though. The SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 story has good voice acting. It has enjoyable presentation. And there are so many fun and good unlockables. I really enjoy how that as you play out the story, you get new things, whether it be attires, arenas, or characters. the the only shortcoming, and this is actually looking back, kind of living in the now. I wish that there was a universe mode, and yet it has not yet been introduced in this game. But I bring that up because the gameplay is so smooth that it's easy to pick up and play, which I enjoy a lot. But once you defeat the road to WrestleMania, it gets a little, what are we doing here, basically? Because after the road to WrestleMania, yeah, you can make teams with the people that you've unlocked, and you can set up entrances, and you can assign people to different rosters, but it's all basically just for the exhibition mode. And yeah, you can put together all kinds of matches, elimination chamber, tags, yada yada yada. But there's no direct reason to pull you back in and play on the regular. I do think it is a play rather than a don't play because of the smooth nature of the gameplay and the fun nature of the stories that happen in the road to WrestleMania. And there's just some general positive feelings I have when I see the way that the game looks. While I know it's not perfect, I find it to be a bit of a time capsule that takes me back to time gone by, like I said, when I was actively wrestling and deep in the business. So I think that if you have a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 3 dusting off the SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 featuring ECW game, it is well worth it because of the positive, fun, and pick up and play nature of the game. And if you've picked up 2K26, let me know what your feelings are in the comments below, because I'm not saying I won't buy a PlayStation 5 ever, and I'm certainly not saying I would never play 2K26, but for the early goings and for the time being, I don't plan on buying a PlayStation 5, and there's nothing drawing me in to get 2K26. As a matter of fact, I think most things are kind of putting me on the wait, because the Battle Pass thing has me a little weirded out. People did the math, and it's like, oh, if you were to spend the money to bypass the tiers to unlock the what normally would have been DLC is going to be some ridiculously large amount of money. I think it was like $700 or something, just under. And so, like, I never know when I'll be stuck at work and this and the other. I like the idea of, I bought this, it's mine, let me do with it what I please, especially given the fact that I like universe mode and I like having all my characters to place on a show, team up, put in rivalries, and if I have to play some other modes to unlock characters to use there, it's like, well, what good is that when I said, oh, I want it all, and you said, you can't have it. So, yeah, let me know if my impression is wrong, because if I am, that's good in this particular case. And, yeah, I hope you enjoy this trip down memory lane. The next retro review for the no WWE 2K26 games will be Legends of WrestleMania, which, hey, look at that, it'll be coming out in WrestleMania season, so that'll be fun. Let's just see if the game is as fun as the concept of doing the review for the game during WrestleMania season. Enjoy.